to the K-Cup, episode 7. I'm glad to be here. I'm here with CEO and founder Jon Kelly. Jon Kelly, welcome back. We made it to episode 7.
Awesome. Let's go.
Let's go. So here's what's brewing at the K-Cup this week. We're discussing why you need a general contractor. We're going to talk about 3 areas of the commercial construction industry where we know that we bring value and why we feel you would benefit by having a general contractor on your team. So let's talk about how, general contractors are more than just builders. A lot of people think of a contractor as the construction guy, but we do so much more than that as general contractors. We really make people's visions and dreams a reality. In addition to that, a general contractor, once they sign a contract, they enter into a really weighty fiduciary responsibility. And anybody in the industry knows, how weighty that responsibility really is. And they not only have to be, skilled at building, but they have to be very skilled on the administrative side. Basically, they're managing this big project that has tentacles like an octopus. There's a lot of different tentacles out there that have to be managed and supervised. And that's what a general contractor has to do. So it's a big role, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, there's tons of different general contractors that are structured in a lot of different ways. But we know largely here in the commercial sector and the companies that we kind of compete with or work around, most of these companies are largely management companies.
Yeah.
We bring in subcontractors to do the work. A lot of times we procure material. We may bring in specific labor guys to do certain things, but largely we're here to manage the project and to make sure it's a success.
Yeah.
So to your point, it is a big responsibility. And there's a lot that goes into that. I know here in a minute we'll talk about a few of those aspects, but it's a lot more than meets the eye. It's a responsibility that we take serious.
Yeah, some of the core responsibilities, you kind of touched on it. You have to manage schedules. You manage the hiring and supervision of all the subcontractors. You're producing, weekly progress reports. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot more core responsibilities than that, but those are just a few of the things that are very nuanced. There's a lot of different facets to each of those core responsibilities. Can you add to those?
Yeah, no, I think that it would be really cool to do a show on a bunch of those, because I think that we could probably break down 5 or 6, 7 aspects and really really shed some light for maybe a young contractor trying to get into the business or something like that. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, just hiring subcontractors, managing their insurance, making sure they're capable of doing the project, and making sure they're properly licensed. You talked about scheduling, building a construction schedule that actually works, that meets an end user's, time frame, that meets their budget, making sure that the project stays on budget. And then just making sure that, everybody's following the rules, everything's being installed according to code and to how it's permitted. So lots of things that we do in that realm. And again, I think we'll do a show on that at some point, because I think that we can really add some good value in those line items. But I know that's not what the show's about today. But definitely a lot more that meets the eye.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's get into that first aspect. We said we were going to talk about 3 aspects where we feel that we bring value to the commercial construction industry. The first one being with architects. We know that architects, design firms, generally speaking, focus on design, and but the general contractor is the one that's going to make that design, going to bring that to reality. So whatever they put on paper or in a CAD file, we're going to make that happen. We're going to make it become a physical reality. And along with that, there's some other ways that we can benefit an architect through our collaboration, and why we bring value, and why we feel it would be smart to have a GC on your team, on some level. For example, addressing the constructability of a project. We know that, talking about constructability, we're looking at possibly analyzing or doing a feasibility consult with an architect on a project and looking at different aspects of that project and giving, our advice on the constructability of it. In other words, let's give an example. Like, say we get a design from an architect and a set of plans, and on the elevations we see a cladding system that right away we see, well, there's a problem because we know that that cladding system is no longer either manufactured or it's become very cost prohibitive, hard to get a hold of or whatever, supply chain issues. So we have to bring, we would bring that to the architect's attention, and then they could adjust their design. And to do that on the front end, to be able to find stuff like that out ahead of time before the project goes out to bid or, begins, with, the construction process, that's the time for them to be able to find stuff like that out. On the budget side of that, obviously finding out that kind of feedback would affect the budget, and they'd have to go back to the drawing board, at least on that scope, and adjust everything accordingly, including the budget. So that's one big area. And then to expand a little bit on how we can assist an architect during the design phase, particularly with budgeting a job, is that if a GC is brought into the fold early on in the design phase, we can actually budget a project as it's being designed through each of the scopes, and we can give our feedback. And what happens by that process taking place is that the design that you end up with at the end of that kind of design, where it's being informed through a general contractor's ability to budget the project, is that you're going to end up with a design that's actually buildable. In other words, you're not going to over design something. We've talked about this before, where like when the competitive bid market set of plans goes out to maybe 20 contractors, that set of plans has to have every screw and nail and strip of wood or whatever. It has to have everything there because it's being estimated by all these different entities. So it has to be a really detailed set of plans. Consequently, a lot of times what happens is when we get those bids back on bid day, they're all way over the budget that the project owner and the architect were hoping for. So by informing that design with budget information as it's happening, at the end of the day, when the design is complete, it's inside of that umbrella of the budget that the owner wanted to work with. So the owner is going to actually get the project that they designed from the beginning because it's been budgeted as it went. So to me, that's just a superior way. And general contractors are an asset that can be used by architects for that purpose. So how do you feel about that portion of it?
I think that's the biggest way that we can, or one of the biggest ways that we can support an architect is the budgeting phase. And a lot of times, I know it's common for us to get a set of plans very early on to help an architect determine the budget.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because they want a good budget.
Yeah.
Or even to help a client with a budget to make sure that you start off with a very basic design, and we kind of put forth some information that we may have done on another project or whatever, to make sure that there is a real accurate budget. And I think that that's the biggest area that we really can support architects.
Yeah.
We've done it numerous times, many times. And then just to bring the project through and to bring it through at a high quality.
Yeah.
But definitely a couple areas that we can bring value. Obviously there's a few more, but definitely just that budgeting phase is somewhere that it's really key for us, and it bridges the gap between the architect and the end user, or the architect and the client, whatever.
Yeah. Didn't you mention earlier, we were talking, and you'd mentioned that recently you had got a set of plans delivered, and you were breaking them open and getting into them, and right away you kind of found a situation like I had mentioned at the outset of this little part about something that just wasn't going to work, and you were able to help the architect figure that out.
Yeah, so early on a project, not that long ago, we actually were doing this exercise where the architects brought us some plans. We're working on a budget. And during that time, we were able to realize that the exterior system they were using on this building actually is no longer in production. So it was really helpful to find that information out way early on, rather than have this, set of plans completely finished and maybe out to bid to, a few other companies or something to figure out that this system don't exist. So that architect was thankful that we were able to help point that out, and it worked out well for the project. So definitely an example of something that you'd kind of alluded to in the beginning there.
Yeah, and that just kind of brought back to my mind, a situation that can happen, like we talked about. If a situation or a project rather is, completely designed and then sent out for bid, what happens? Another thing that can happen is that the design is, it comes back and it has to be chopped up because it's just way over budget. So you end up in this redesign loop where you lose time, you lose precious time, and ultimately design is going to be done that's not ever going to be used. So obviously there's savings that could happen there for the project owner. Of course, the architect doesn't want to charge for a bunch of design they're not going to use either. Ideally, they would want to, have information like what you were able to offer to this architect before, that was completed. For that design, about something that wasn't going to work, and they were able to change it prior to going to construction documents.
Well, the other thing that does is, and the way this brings value to an architect, it allows that project to go into production on time. So, there's no delays by, getting to the end of this process and having to redesign it. And now a project that, maybe architect thought was going to happen in 23 is going to be pushed to 24 just because of the redesign. And, we were able to, see that problem early, fix it. And now during this first bid phase, this project's going to happen on time like it was originally thought. And
that's huge.
And so that's another area that we could bring some value, is help, by pointing out these things early, keeping a project on schedule from just a design standpoint.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really big. Time is money ultimately for everybody involved. So that's a huge way. All right, so let's talk about our commercial real estate friends, our CRE professionals. That's another area where we really feel like you need a general contractor, and here's why. We know that commercial real estate pros are they're the tip of the spear when it comes to dealing with commercial real estate developers / investors, and they're going to be the first ones that get to interact with that potential client. It starts them down that that journey to whatever their project is that they have in mind, whether it's a white box build out or developing a piece of commercial land. And as a general contractor, there's ways that we can help that CRE prof help them take the next their client to the next step, and possibly sign another deal instead of letting that lead go by the wayside. One of those ways is that we can provide early on, before we would provide a budget, we could just simply have a consult, a consultation. Like, imagine if you were a client, you're working with a commercial agent, and you find a space that you really like, and they say, what, I've got a contractor that I work with all the time, and let me give him a call and see if he can't meet with you and answer any questions you have about the space, and tell them what your concept is, and just kind of get an idea of if it's really feasible. Imagine being able to do that, how it kind of levels up your game as a CRE professional. It kind of shows you at kind of next level, professional level, that you have this arrow in your quiver that you can just bring to bear in short order. And if you take that to the next level, is that we can actually provide budgets, and we have many times for commercial agents, so that they could give their clients a rough budget, so that they could be informed enough to be able to know if they can take the next step and move on a property or not. So those are ways that we can really bring value to the commercial real estate profession, and why we think you need a general contractor.
It's always nice to be able to get good, accurate information. and from that commercial realtor bringing in us as general contractor, we just were able to give that client or that end user more information.
Yes.
And obviously that's going to go a long way because they want to get as much as they can get to understand if this is really a possibility.
Yeah, for sure.
And the cool part is, we've seen this time and time again where we've given a good budget. We've actually converted the client. The commercial real estate agent was able to convert a client.
Yeah.
And then it turned to repetitive work. I mean,
yeah,
we've done this with multiple clients, so that we know it works, and we know that it's a real thing.
Yes.
So we just need some other commercial realtors and those type of people to believe in it.
Yeah.
And I think that we can really grow that aspect.
Yeah. Did y'all catch that? We really believe this is a largely untapped, market or opportunity for both of us, for y'all and for us. We've done it when it falls into place. It's so nice. It's just very rewarding when you make that effort to collaborate and it actually works for both parties, for the realtor and for us. And turns into opportunities for both of us. If you can, expand your gross revenue by 1%, you close one more deal or two more deals a year than you would have closed by collaborating. To me, that sounds kind of like a no-brainer. Like that would be something I would definitely want to take advantage of. So just so y'all know, we are here. We're ready to collaborate with our commercial real estate professionals, and you do see us in the community in the greater Baton Rouge area reaching out to y'all. And, so take advantage of that opportunity and utilize the asset, because we're definitely here and we're ready to work with you to help close some deals. So,
Yeah.
anything to add on that?
No, I think that there's, like I say, I think there's definitely room for that, and I think we can bring a big value there for sure.
Cool. All right, so let's move on to our third area, and that is commercial lenders. We feel like commercial lenders really need a general contractor in their corner or on their team, and we know we've had personal experience. We reach out again to commercial lenders in the community because we know that there's opportunity there. We feel kind of like the commercial real estate profession, that there's a lot of untapped potential there. So we reach out and we try to keep the lines of communication open, let them know that we have a pulse. We're here, ready to help out. And as a result of that, we've had some opportunities that turned out to be great jobs. Situations where, for whatever reason, the project wasn't getting completed. They needed another contractor to come in and get the job done. And because of us making ourselves known and available, that took place. So that's one way in which we can help commercial lenders, is to get projects completed that for some reason have stalled out. Another thing that we know is going on with lending, particularly in the commercial area, that who they're going to lend money to, lenders are going to give their money to. The scrutiny level is definitely increased from what it used to be, and understandably so. In the current economy, when you lend money, you want to make sure there's going to be an ROI. You want to make sure that the project that gets started is going to be completed. So that's another way that a general contractor, just having that rapport in that relationship with, can be a benefit to y'all, because we can again provide a feasibility assessment of a project. We can let you know if this project looks like it can be completed for this budget that is being proposed. When or how long it would take to complete that project, so we can give you a timeline estimates. We can give you budgetary estimates, and basically shore up your understanding of how feasible it is to loan on that project. So that's another way that we can be a big asset to commercial lenders. Anything to add to that?
Yeah, I know we just recently, and I say just recently, in the last year or two, we've completed a project with a lender, to where the project was in kind of jeopardy a little bit, I guess, and we were able to come in and not take advantage of anybody at a fair rate, help get the project back on board and up and running, and completed, so that it could go on about its use.
Yeah.
And I think that that lender, obviously gained some confidence in us,
Mm-hmm.
and where we were bringing value is he knows that he can come to us again as a
Yeah.
responsible GC, and
Yes.
we can take the money that he's lending for this project and utilize it the correct way.
Yes.
And I think the other side of it is, uh, much like architects, we're able to take that bank's end user and provide them a solid budget on a project, and that gives the lender confidence to lend
Mm-hmm.
against that,
That's
knowing
right.
that this is what it's going to cost, and that we're going to oversee this thing
Yeah.
through construction.
Yeah.
So we I think the area that we do or give confidence is we mainly just give confidence to that banker.
Yeah.
That's the value that we bring.
Yeah.
And I think that's huge, though. I don't
It
think
is.
I don't think that's said lightly.
No. Yeah. I think confidence is huge. They're definitely looking for that reassurance that what's being proposed is doable. And I've found I've had some great conversations with some commercial lenders through our sales efforts and stuff, and kind of found that uh, a lot of the parameters that they use is similar to other aspects of like commercial realtors, architects, and stuff. Sometimes their you know proposed budgets or assumed budgets don't quite match what the real world construction budget is, and that's where I think we bring so much value. Is that we see it all the time, and it's not saying that anyone's not doing their job well. They have their own parameters that they use to estimate these things. It's just that we know, because we're on the ground, boots on the ground, in the trenches. We know exactly what something's going to cost, and we know how volatile labor, materials, all those different things are. I mean, they adjust. They used to adjust by 30 days or quarters, and sometimes now it's literally weekly that some of these things, go up and down
Yeah.
in cost. So uh, that's another area where I think that just having that conversation, letting us give them a real world view, put the glasses on that's going to give them the lens of something's actually going to cost, can really help them make the decision or know they're making a good decision,
Yeah.
and they go
I
forward.
think the other thing it does too, it starts a relationship, and
Yes.
some of the lenders that we've talked about, we had a relationship prior to stepping in and doing some work with them, but then other lenders that we've stepped in and helped, we've been able to build that relationship,
Yeah.
and again, it's a relationship that works, but it works both ways, and it's fruitful for both parties.
Absolutely.
So that's the other cool thing, and the value that we bring once we are able to step in and work with a lender.
Yeah. So, anyways, hope you all have enjoyed this and seen how general contractors bring value to the commercial construction industry and in ways that maybe you never thought about. Give you a really simple visual. I like visuals. I'm a visual learner, but imagine you got three little islands that are clustered together. This island's commercial real estate. This one's commercial lending. This one's architects and design. General contractors are really the bridges that connect those islands, and general contractors are going to you know initiate the lion's share of all communication that takes place when a project begins. By nature, we're problem solvers. uh, it's just what we do. We solve problems all the time, and trust me, it doesn't matter how well a commercial construction project is planned or executed, problems will arise. So it's really not if there are problems, it's how quickly and efficiently a general contractor can solve a problem and regain momentum and keep a project moving forward. And so there's just a number of ways that we can bring great value, and of course save time, and time is money, and opportunity is money. So hope you enjoyed this. Anything you want to add, John?
Just thinking about your
My
illustration there.
visual.
I mean, I think the bridge to each of those, to me, the word that would describe that bridge is like confidence. I think we give the architect confidence that his design can be built within a certain budget. I think
Yeah.
we give confidence to the end user that, hey, these guys have looked at it. Our budget's solid. It can be built with no real surprises.
Yeah.
And then the banker knows that we can lend this amount of money for this project. It's been looked at by a professional who understands what it costs,
Yes.
and it gives them the comfort level and the confidence to lend on that particular project.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of the way I see the bridge scenario that you were pointing out.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. I mean, we'll call that the confidence bridge. I got to cross the confidence bridge. Anyways, good feedback, good insight, John. I appreciate that. Thanks, y'all, for being here again for episode 7. We're excited. Episode 8 will be coming soon, and we hope to see y'all again here on the K-Cup. Come on back.
Goodbye.
Adios.